So we are going to continue talking about models with addition and subtraction. So we're going to talk about models with addition and subtraction. All right, so let's look at if I have 2/3 plus a fifth, how I'm going to show that. Remember, my first model, I should be drawing, remember drawing rectangles every time, never circles, always rectangles. So I'm going to do this one 2/3, and I'm going to cut it going this direction. 2/3. Remember, my denominator tells me how many parts there are. All right, so now I'm going to show 1/5. But what do I have to do about this way? I have to cut them going this direction. And how many do I have? I only have 1/5. Okay, so I have to make them have the same denominator. So I can't add these parts because these are big fat pieces and these are skinnier, thinner pieces. So I have to make the pieces be the same. So what do? I cut them in this direction, and I cut these into this direction. How did I know how to cut into thirds? Well, this one was thirds, so I had to cut this one in thirds. This one was fifths, so I had to cut this one into fifths. So now how many pieces do I have? It's not 2/3 and 1/5 anymore. The pieces, the size didn't change, or the amount didn't change, just I cut it up into more pieces. So this one is now 3 pieces out of how many? 5, 10, 15. There's 15 total pieces. Should we be seeing a pattern of where our new denominator is coming from? How did I get here to here? Are we noticing these patterns? Because after a while we could take some shortcuts. We don't have to show every step. So let's look at this one. 5, 10 out of how many? 15. So let's count them all up. I could count them up by using my numbers, or I could count them up by using my pictures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I have 13 15ths. Alright, so let's try a subtraction. I could do the same exact problem. Well, let's do a different one. Let's do 3/4 minus 2/3. Well, let's see what I get. I'm going to draw a rectangle. I'm going to cut them up into fourths. When I do fourths, first I split them in half, and then I make each section of 2 to have a total of 4, and that's how I get my numbers to be a little bit more even. So I'm going to shade in 3 out of 4 of them. And I'm going to take away. Remember, the key to this one is make your lines go the other direction. I'm going to take away 2 of them. Okay, so my first step is to make this one kind of go on top of this, make my lines go the other direction. Right? Okay, so I did not change the amount I had in each rectangle, I just cut them up into more pieces. Alright, so let's try this here. So this is not 3/4 anymore, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is 9. What's my denominator going to be? Can we see a pattern with what my denominator started with? What's this one going to be? 8. I have the same number of pieces over here that I did here, so this should be the same. So I'm subtracting. I could do it with my fractions, my numbers, or I could do it here. How many do I need to take away? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I need to take away 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So how many do I have left? What's the difference between this one and this one? The difference is just 1. My pieces stayed the same. I still have 12 pieces inside of every box. It would never be 0 and it would never be 24 because I didn't combine these boxes. Alright, so we're going to do one by yourself, and then you're going to, and then we'll talk about it. And then, so you're going to pause. So let's do 4/5 Now I'm going to change that. Well, I'm going to change that to 2/5 plus a half. So go ahead and pause the video. You draw your boxes, and let's see how it works out for you. Alright, so you should have already completed. So you pause the video, you should already have this. So I'm going to move a little quicker because you are just checking your work. 2/5. So I'm going to draw my rectangle. I have rectangles for each one. I should have split this into 5 sections because that's what my denominator tells me. My problem said 2/5, so I'm going to color in 2 of them. This one said I'm only cutting them into halves. Remember, I went the other direction. So I cut them into halves. Okay, now I have to put this on top of that. I have to cut them into the same pieces. Like this half, go over here, make these 5ths, go over here. So now what am I going to do? I'm adding. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9. So that equals 9 pieces. And how many pieces do I have inside my box? Well, I could tell this by hopefully we're picking up on this pattern. What number am I going to get? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Hopefully that's what you had. All right, let's practice the subtraction. Let's do 4/5 minus 1/3. Let's see what we get. Pause the video, you do your models and come up with your answer, and let's check your work. Alright, so I should draw a rectangle. Let's check your work and see what you did. I'll split this one into 5ths. And I should have 4 of them. So I'm going to cut into 3rds. They're different size pieces, so I have to make my pieces be the same size so I can compare them. So let's cut this one up this way, and this one up this way. Alright, let's subtract, right? So I'm taking away. Well, hold on. I jumped ahead. How many pieces do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 now. How many total pieces? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. How many pieces over here? I should have still 15s. How many pieces do I have shaded in? 3, 6, 9, 12. So I have to take away 5. How many do I have left? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Should I have known that because 12 minus 5 is 7? Yes, I should have already known that. So we're going to practice one more of what would happen if I am adding and I get larger than a whole. What do I do? So let's see. So I'm going to draw my box again. Same box that I just did. This way I'm going this direction. So I drew my 4/5 and I drew my 3rds. This one I'm going this direction. So what happens? When I add these together, remember I have to cut them up to make them be the same sizes. So I wonder if any of you are moving a little faster than I am because you already understand what you're supposed to do. So you're not waiting for me to cut them up, you knew that was the next step. So this one, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 parts. How many total parts do I have? 15. This one I have 5 parts. My total number of parts in here is 15. So what happens when I add these together? So what happens when I add these together? I'm going to make a new box. I'm going to show you what's going to happen because I'm going to get, I have too many to fit into one spot. So let's look at what this would look like. I'm going to split this up so it's in 15ths. Just kind of introduce what we're going to next. So let's talk about from the first one I had 12. I had 12 of them, right? And then my next one, I have to add on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here's 1, 2, 3. So I added on 3 of them, but I still have 2 more to add on. So how am I going to do that? They don't fit in that box. I have to draw another box. That's all I do. Draw another box. So let's see. I had my 12. I was able to add 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I have 2 more to add. So they go in my leftover box. So how do I write my answer? I write my answer like one whole box, and 2. How many spots am I dividing this into? Still 15ths. That stayed the same. All my boxes now are cut up into 15 sections. So my answer should be 1 and 2 15ths. There's another way for me to write that answer, and this is actually how they want you to write your answers if you were on the EOGs and you were on that gridded in section, those part of the directions I told you to ignore. 12 plus 5 is 17, and then my 15 stays the same. So these are equivalent fractions. We're going to spend some time talking about improper fractions and mixed numbers and how they are the same. So tomorrow we're going to do more practicing with these models, so then the next day we're ready to move on to add a new piece to it.